Hello, I'm Holly Omani. I am a writer and editor at Backstage, and we're joined today by Gary Oldman and Jack Lowden, stars of Apple TV's BAFTA-winning series Slow Horses. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, so to catch up anyone who's watching this but is yet to see Slow Horses, it is a British spy thriller series following a group of MI5 agents who have been demoted to the organization's administrative doghouse for committing or being set up for various unspoken misdeeds.
Mhm.
Gary, you play Jackson Lamb, head of Slough House, and Jack, you play Agent River Cartwright, who's been resigned to Slough House, maybe indefinitely. For viewers, there is so much to love about this show, from its subversion of spy glamour to its relatable characters, its self-depreciating humor, and its fictionalization of the grubby, cutthroat politics inside the Secret Service. But I'd love to hear from you as insiders. How are you finding spending so much time in the world of these characters? And for context, there are 8 books. So while we have 5 series currently commissioned, there's a good chance that you're going to be spending maybe the best part of a decade with these characters. How are you finding it?
I think there's 9 now.
9 books, even more, even more, even longer.
Jack's face. Yeah. Well, I mean, the characters are wonderful. All of this is, you mentioned the books, all of this is out of the imagination of Mick Herron, who wrote the books. And so we have a really good blueprint. We have a fantastic template. The scripts are very good. Characters are they're strong and realized. And I think thus far, we've had some pretty good directors. So as far as I'm concerned, Jack's younger than me. He's a young man. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy to continue playing Jackson Lamb for as long as they want me. It's a great group of people. It really is a wonderful team that we have across the board, makeup, costume, camera, and the actors are, they're fabulous and a wonderful group of people. So I feel very lucky to be a part of it.
And how about you, Jack?
Yeah, the same. I mean, it's such a unique piece, this, and I think the wonderful thing is that it's a bit bizarre, but even as a punter watching it, I think it gets better every time we do it, which is not always the case with this kind of stuff. I think when you long form things like this, you can see, they've really got behind this, so they've like doubled the budget, and you start seeing that if they need to blow up a plane, they just blow up a plane. But with this, you can just, I think Mick and the story, the whole overarching story, really comes to fruition, because the whole point of this is that you're seeing sort of behind the veil of people that work in intelligence. And there's a lot of things that have been put in place from season 1 that start really coming to fruition in 3, even in 3, and they really do in 4 as well. So it's really wonderful to keep doing it. And the wonderful thing, I was saying this the other day, is the more we do it and the better that it gets and the more popular it gets, I feel like we get, I don't know if Gary feels this, but I feel like we get like a top up of actors, like better and better actors. Not that we've had bad actors, we've had wonderful actors, but just like, God, she's in it. Oh God, he's in it. They want to be in it, and that's what I've enjoyed most. Is sort of like it is a character that you've spent a few years with now, and you can try them out in front of like people that you really admire, which is really fun.
So yeah, that's a really interesting way of putting it. I mean, as a watcher, as a viewer, I completely agree. I think the 3rd series is my favorite so far. It's incredible that whole story, isn't it? In the space of like 24 hours or something. It's,
Yeah.
an entire six episode series is all over
Yeah.
the course of one very long for you guys day. Um, Gary, actually, on that kind of note, I know you've spoken in the past about how you learnt your lines for your Oscar-winning turn as Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour, and you talked about how you learnt them like it was like you were learning a play. But how is that different for, I think, so at the time you were talking about the fact that it's not necessarily how well you know something, it's how long you've known it. And now, obviously, with your character Jackson Lamb, you've known him for a long time, but you're constantly being fed new material in the
Yeah.
form of, new, like, yeah. So how are you finding that? I mean, I guess you can't just learn it like as a play, but how are you finding it?
Well, actually, you can with this because we do block shooting, so we are not dependent on a writer feeding us scripts piecemeal every couple of weeks. We actually get the 6 episodes and the schedule long before we begin. So what I'm able to do is get learn as much as I can, like a parrot, basically. As Jack knows, you sit in your kitchen and try and hammer the lines in. Occasionally, my wife will read with me so I can actually get to hear the cues out loud. But what you can do is you can get, I think Jack does this too, is you get an overview of the piece. So I kind of know it. It's sort of in there. And then nearer the time of shooting, I then sort of study and really sort of brush it up. But we're lucky because we do get the 6 episodes ahead of time.
Yeah.
You can at least sort of carry it with you.
Yeah.
I don't learn as quickly as I used to, so I do make a point of saying to them, as soon as you've locked something in, would you get it to me? So the old man here can learn his lines.
Does it change much throughout the process, though, or once it's locked in, does it usually stay locked in?
It stays somewhat, yeah, pretty much. But we contribute to the writing because we really know these people now. So does the writer. So he hears our voices rather than a sort of the voice of the book. He can now hear how we play these characters, and we do change things sometimes on the floor in the moment, and we'll come up with something, so it's not our main guy, Will Smith, the sort of main writer, is not precious with it at all, and it's never combative. If you do want to change something, he more often will say, well, how would you say it? And 9 times out of 10, we're good with it. Yeah.
Nice. And much of Slow Horses is filmed out and about in London, particularly around the area of the Barbican, which I know you've both been on stage at the Barbican Theatre in the past. How do you find turning this area that you know from your real lives into a spy's playground? And is there any location or landmark that you've kind of particularly enjoyed filming at?
There's loads. I mean, the bridge at the Barbican,
iconic.
Anytime I cycle under it or just going past it, I imagine me almost dangling Freddie Fox off of it. And so I really hope that I really think they're going to do like a blue plaque one day. But Freddie, one of the younger Foxes, was almost hung off this bridge. No, there's so many wonderful places he captures, and Mick puts most of them in the book as well. And one of my favorite things to do is to go around London with the audiobook version as we go on, whatever season that we're doing, whatever book we're doing, that's how I really get into it, is play that in my ears, and I make a way of a point of going around places that we would be in, and London just leads itself to that so well. The sort of dark alleyways and sort of dingy places. He's just set it so well. It's so wonderful.
Do any of them leave you wondering how on earth you're going to do it? If you go to a location, you know what's meant to happen there. You kind of left wondering what that will look like.
Yeah, the weirdest one was the one in the Cotswolds. I think that was in season 2. One of the most idyllic. I think it's called Coombe something. One of the most idyllic English villages, and it does have that sort of feeling of like it's too perfect. Something's going to go wrong. Like people are being killed behind closed doors, and that's very much what we did. So yeah, he sort of ruins the tranquility of England quite a lot as well, Nick.
And actually, I mean, Jack, for you, I was thinking about in series 3, the latest series we've seen, where you're running through train stations and up escalators, and you're pushing people out the way as you go. And I mean, it looks chaotic, but presumably it is highly choreographed, and it involves a lot of extras and probably some stunt performers as well. How do you find acting in high action chase scenes where there's presumably a lot more variables than when you're kind of in an office and on sort of a more confined set?
It's interesting that it's sort of I partly quite like it because there's far less acting involved. There's sort of like you don't really need to think about how you're going to get into the moment. If you need to run, I mean, you need to jump over something. You can't really act that. You've just got to do it. So that's a lot of fun. I still find it strange when they go. There's about 150 extras, and they make all these stunties put their hands up like that, and you sort of go, that's who you're allowed to hit, Jack, those people. And you don't really remember as you go along. And I've definitely thrown an errant elbow into someone I wasn't supposed to, definitely. But everybody's good sport, and wear high vis and crash helmets because we're very safety conscious, for sure.
Good. What about you, Gary? I know that wasn't your scene, but how you found that sort of being sort of somewhere more kind of out in public, in the back streets compared to being in an office? You've got more people.
Well, it is nice to get out of behind the desk, but I don't have that same problem that Jack has because I don't run.
Wait, what is the most action you've done in all series? So what do you think's the most? What have you done?
Season 4. I exert myself a bit.
That means he'll get out of a chair. He'll get out of a chair.
Yeah. I mean, I do walk up and down the stairs. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Sometimes does his jacket up. His son does it.
I mean, I do a lot of eating. Yeah. No, I don't really have. This is a sitting down part, isn't it?
Yeah. You were on a roof in series 3. I'm sure we left you kind of hanging, well, sort of climbing out of a roof to dangle something back down.
Oh yeah, but they put up a little rostrum for me. I don't do the real. Jack does. Jack is out in the real world, running and bashing people. It's move.
Yeah, all River shouts is move. Whenever we do those running scenes, we did, because we're shooting number 5 just now, and we were doing something, and I caught myself shouting move, and I was like, I can't shout move for the 5th season in a row. So I was trying to think of. I actually texted Will, the writer, who was on holiday. I said, what else? What other words are there? What other sort of what can I do? What other commands? And he just came back with go.
Oh,
yeah.
But it's hard to say excuse me, isn't it, on the run?
Yeah, you don't really know.
Excuse me.
Yeah, get a fucking way. Yeah,
move is more relevant, I think. You're on the right thing. Yeah,
the least offensive.
Yeah. Oh. But Gary, you were interviewed by Backstage back in 2018 for the podcast, And you spoke at the time about drawing instinctively on the techniques of some of those great practitioners like Stanislavski and Adler and Meisner to get close to the world of a character. I think it was Meisner's principle of living truthfully under imaginary circumstances that you said you found particularly influential. I wonder, obviously this was pre-Slow Horses, and I wonder whether your use of those principles is the same now that you're wedded to such a long-running series, or whether you found yourself putting more barriers in place. I know you also talked about when you've kind of put your body through a lot as an actor, you can't really just go home and have a beer and switch off. So yeah, have you found that change now that you're in this sort of long-running tense spy thriller?
No, well, I think back in the old days, I think what I was referring to was those very sort of, some of those emotional, frenetic parts that I've played. Mm. And the point I was making is that you're stirring up all this stuff. And then, then is it easy to just sort of go home and put your feet up and watch TV and drink a beer when you've been dealing with, I don't know, your dead father all day and going to places that, a scene will require a certain emotion. This has been, in that respect, a lot easier because I'm not, you never really see Lamb's blood pressure he's probably got terrible blood pressure, but you never really see it rise. It's more contained in that way. I don't have a method. I read Stanislavski years ago. I read Stella Adler years ago. But what I suppose what I do is, it's no particular method. I think you take from the good and just you sort of cherry pick. I think I particularly like that quote because I think no one has ever really summed up or encapsulated acting so eloquently, in a way. What is it? Remind me again. It's being
living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Yeah,
that's it. There you go. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And you come to a show like this, and I don't have experience of being a spy. I often find photographs and music sometimes I listen to, which is a sort of way into a scene or a character.
Is there anything particular for Lamb, like any music that you kind of have in your imagination of his backstory, what he'd be listening to?
The Bee Gees.
Nice. I can see it.
I knew I'd get him with that one.
I can imagine him doing that.
Oh, we think that we think Lamb might be a Bob Dylan fan.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Mm. He's quite pessimistic, but yeah, I can see that.
And of course, the usual suspects. I think probably back when, so he would be. I'm closer to his age, I guess. Lamb, so it would be, maybe the Who. Yeah.
A good playlist coming up.
And the Rolling Stones classic, here and there.
Yeah, nice. Jack, what about you for sort of, well, I don't know whether those are the techniques that have been in your practice, but for switching off or for sort of getting yourself out of a character that you're now sort of quite wedded to for quite a long amount of time, how do you do that?
He goes to Scotland.
Yeah. I don't really think I've been that in character, to be honest with you. Certainly not in this. Not in this. I find the reason that I love playing this part is that it's the only part actually that I've played that is quite close to me in many ways. in his temperament, how he is, and everything. I've played a lot of real people that are either, you know, existed or dead or whatever. So I do play. I'm constantly doing accents. I did an American job this year where I sort of stayed in accent, which it always used to make me cringe that, but it really does help.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would get on the phone after at night to certain people, it would be a bit strange. But no, that like with this, I think if you really did take it home, if you took home what these people are going through, i.e., you know, they're having to stop a terrorist cell, or you know, like all the characters, you know, they've got drug addictions, gambling addictions, and all that kind of stuff. If you took those home, you'd never turn up for work the next day. So, I mean, River in particular is having to deal with his grandfather, his father figure, having dementia, Alzheimer's. So, you know, that in particular, I have no interest in taking that home, you know, at all. So, and that's what's wonderful about the cast, but is often quite wonderful about working in the UK in general. Like, you know, a lot of people are stage actors. There's a great pedigree, obviously, here, and you can smell a stage actor 100 yards away that they're uber prepared, and they take it seriously, but they don't take themselves seriously, and they revel. And I've enjoyed that since I was a kid. That's why I do it. I revel in that, doing it 1 minute and then dropping it the very next. And I've said that to Gary before, and I know he knows the same. And he's told me about times he's done that as well on stage. Is that wonderful moment of being on stage, and then you move into the wings and you do something stupid. You know, it's the most wonderful feeling, because you feel really smart and cool that you've conned everybody, you know, and then you feel it's a great sort of arena of smugness, the wings, and that's the same on screen.
Nice. And that's kind of cut off.
It's our conspiracy.
Yeah,
it's an actor's conspiracy that, you know, you can be in a big scene and then you can just sort of turn to someone and whisper to them, you know, is that any good?
Yeah.
In the I can think of actually one where a friend of mine was in he was in the chorus of Julius Caesar, and the actor there playing Cassius was going off on this aria, and his companion on the stage just turned to him and said, "Oh, something's touched a nerve."
yeah. I thought I mean, I watched Gary. I think it was in season 1 or season 2. We were on a night shoot in London, and Gary Lamb, we were staking out a place, and Lamb had to stroke a cat. Stopped and stroked a cat while he was trying to look inconspicuous. And when it came, you know, they did it with a real cat, an animal handler, and all that. And then when they did the close on Gary, you know, they didn't need the cat, and I think they just rolled up a jumper or something. And I watched Gary stroking a jumper or somebody's sleeve or something like that, but with completely in the moment or whatever, and completely doing the right thing. But he was just stroking like a North Face fleece. And I mean, and that's the joy of acting, is the con. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, Backstage is a platform for actors, so I also just wanted to ask you both about your process for choosing roles. Obviously, you know, you've committed for quite a long time now to Slow Horses, but you've also both got a lot of other titles on stage and on screen under your belts. So if you're lucky enough to be in a position where you can choose between a few different projects, what kind of draws you to something, and what do you think people who are perhaps have less experience than both of you should be looking out for to kind of, you know it's a project that's worth backing and worth giving a go?
Material. And the director has always sort of been the cornerstone of it all. I even that's theatre as well. I mean, it goes straight as across the board. I think. I mean, you've got to be, to anyone who's young and wants to do it. I mean, first, you have to develop a very thick skin, first of all, because you swim in a sea of rejection. and you're just getting knocked around, and you have to just brush yourself off and come at it again. It's a selfish life, you know. At times, really, the work is the main thrust in my life, to the exclusion of everything else. And then that can damage relationships, and yeah, you've got to be committed to it. To, you know, unless you're really lucky enough to have a partner who really kind of understands the creative process. But I was an arrogant so-and-so, you know, when I was younger. So, you know, someone once said to me, "Well, you would at drama school." They said to me, "Well, you'd go on Crossroads to get your equity card," and I said, "No, absolutely not. I would rather wait tables than be in Crossroads." You know. Well, Jack, you what do you think? Because I'm rambling on.
Well, really... I obviously I can be less picky than Gary. So and it's been I've had a really sort of fun, I think it's whether it's been 10, 12 years I've been doing this, and sort of all I've ever wanted to do is get to a stage where I can pick, relatively speaking. And you do, you know, I've done loads of things when I first started, things that I didn't pick, they just picked me and I took them. You know, I just had to work. I wanted to work, you know, and a lot of the time I was very fortunate to be picked for good stuff, you know, and then some less good stuff. But you learn so much from the less good stuff as well. It's really interesting how I'm starting to feel that the sort of industry takes you and sort of throws you into everything, like round and round like a washing machine, and then spits you back out as what the industry views you as. And it's really, if you get to that position where at least you're getting jobs, is you then have to make a decision. Do you like that, what the industry sees you as? Are you comfortable in that? Is because, you know, if you can do it at a certain level and you can do it quite well, you will get asked to do it again and again. And I think actors, you know, there's actors that stay there and there's actors that want to try other things. And I feel I'm sort of at that stage where I'm still pushing myself to try as many different things as I can. And, you know, I've done a year so far where Apple have been fantastic. They've let me go and do a bunch of other things, which are very, very different from this. So whilst that's fantastic, it's also the wonderful benefit of being in something like this long running and long form is I just feel like I've gotten better as an actor because of Slow Horses. And that's my other great aim in what I do, is just to be better than I was in the last one, basically. And I'm enjoying, hopefully feeling like I am. Yeah.
I mean, Jack points out, you know, that I have more choice than perhaps he does right now. I've been doing it for 46 years. So, you know, I got a few years on him. And they're also, you know, I mean, that thing of a washing machine that spits you out, for a while, it would spit me out and I was a villain.
Yeah.
You know, and I got so tired of it. It was fun to begin with, but it was always, we need a villain. Oh, you know, call Gary would do it. And I consciously turned that ship around.
Yeah.
I did that to say one day, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing another wacky, crazy character. But there are lean years, and then you're on a roll and you're on a run, and they're very good years, and I've had those, and then I've had not so good years, and you know, done some things that ordinarily probably wouldn't be on the radar. You know, this is how we make our living. And so you do have to, put the kids through school and pay the mortgage and you do all of that. I mean, you got to make money. And like Jack, maybe, really, most of the stuff has found me. I have not engineered or pursued the roles. You know what I mean in that sense. I mean, it was never on my bucket list to play Dracula.
But glad you did.
I could, but with Dracula, could I live without it? Absolutely. But I thought Coppola might actually have a take on it. That's what really made it. That's what made it interesting, to have the experience of working with someone who, arguably is the greatest American director, and someone who has made movies that I admire and that I respect. So, but it all just has come in across the desk, and that's the thing. You could be on your uppers, depressed, out of work, and literally the phone could ring and you're in work and you've got a job. So it's very strange in that sense. You're out of work, you're in work. You're out of work, you're in work. What do I do after this? I don't know, I'm out of work. And then that could be months, it could be a week, or the phone could ring the next day. Or it could be a year. So
it's so mad. It's so mad how it works. I got a text the other day from a close mate of mine who's an AD in the industry, and he texted me and he said, "Jack, quick, what actor would you think of to play a computer geek or something? He's working on this big mad film." And I instantly thought of an actor, and sent him that actor. And I don't know, maybe I'll check in with him. Maybe he got in contact and he asked, "Who's his agent?" I was like, "I don't know," but that actor might have gotten that role, through a recommendation from a recommendation. It's so bizarre how it works.
Yeah.
And I recognized that actor from something that I watched last year. And it's as simple as that. And there's so little control.
Yeah, and a lot of perseverance as well. But thank you both so much for your time, though.
No, we're shooting number 5 right now, so
very exciting.
Yeah, we don't leave you hanging too long.
No,
no.
And then we come out again, and
it's incredible because I think it only came out, the first series in 2022, wasn't it? So I think that we've 5 series in the last 2 years, all sort of confirmed, is amazing.
We won't disappoint you.
I'm
still watching.
We'll keep watching. Really looking forward to it. So,
all right.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, and for your
I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.